Okay, sorry about that. Uh, I didn't turn on my webcam on purpose because I was really it was just the audio though. I mean, I could have turned on the webcam without the audio, I guess, but I decided that I wouldn't do that. And today we're going to try to blast through a couple of these. I have to finish up. Um, let's see. Let's go over here. Right here. I have to finish these up. That means I put okay. So these hit one, hit two, hit three, hit four, five is going to be in there. I got to put those in there. I'll probably do that in just a second here. And I guess I can go ahead and go to regular desktop. Okay. And so I'm going to put those in there, and then I'm going to pull up my notes again. I'm going to try to finish off the that last that last deal that took me about 15 minutes to come up with a few things. Of course, I already had some idea of what I wanted to do already, but then I forgot something, and I'll finish that up, and then we'll try to reapply the steps again to see if I can't do two of them in the whole in the whole whatever hour and 15 minutes I have left here. Um, okay, so give me a second. Um, hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I need to go check something. How many are in here? Just probably just one, or what do we got? Just one person's in here. Okay, that's good. Mr. One, Mr. and Mrs. One Person. Who's ever in here, showing up in here. Uh, anyway, so I'm gonna try to finish this. I guess I'm gonna be going to 1 o'clock my time, so that's uh that's about an hour and 40 minutes here. So um we'll have the 2 hours here. Maybe I'll break, like I'll do a 5 minute thing where I'll turn the camera off, the webcam, um, and microphone off, and I'll do some stretching or something. Um, but so the first thing I need to do here is I need to put this into each of the pages. And honestly, what I should do is, I guess I'm gonna do this in a text file here. I'm gonna cut those out. I'm literally gonna cut. I'm gonna cut, and we're gonna paste. And actually, let's do this. We're gonna cut the space. Here, I guess I can just show it to you. Here, let's do this, and we'll do this. In fact, I'll just go ahead and make it short so you can see it on screen. And we'll make sure that there's nothing in here. And so then what we're going to do is Control X. Then down here, we're going to Control V. And then here, Control X, Control V. Wait a second. Okay, that's right. Okay, and then we're going to go over here and do the same thing. Control X, that's for number 4, Control V. Okay, and then finally for number 5, Control X. Control V. Searches his bag. Hat room. Oh, I see. All right, let's go ahead and fix that too. And let's go ahead and I guess I'll put this down at the bottom. These are supposed to transition to the next thing here, so I think um I think when he goes out and gets his hats and comes back, I'm not going to. It's not going to be a thing with choice in that. It's just going to be a thing that happens like linear. Just so I can just kind of get on with stuff because later on in the actual game where you have to leave and do stuff, go back to different rooms and whatever. I'll probably allow you make the player actually physically go over to his hat room to choose certain hats. In fact, um, he'll be able to the player will be able to go and um, actually choose different hats and to see if something works and stuff. In fact, I might should have a thing where you can test out different spells like a practice room or something. So he might need a practice room in his. In fact, let's put that up into the notes here. Okay. I should have just went to recent, but okay. Let's go all the way down. This is the page here. Pro Magic Works. Okay, so these will be story beats, I guess. And I'll put this here, and I'll put Hubert may need a practice room so the player can try out different spells. In fact, that'll be kind of like when you have a tutorial or whatever how to use stuff. You're gonna need to learn how to use the hat system, and so when I actually get to that point, and this is the whole hat system thing is it's just going to be fairly passive until I get to the actual I don't think I'll even do in the text editor when I get the full graphics and the animation and everything, the full graphical interactivity at least, that's when I'll actually develop the hat system, because right now it's just in text and part of it is anyways not right there. I need practice rooms so I can try out different spells. So I have a spell that you have to do, and it'll be like right near, either right in Hubert's home or right near it. That you'll go and try it in the practice room first. Anyways, okay. So that's a note, and then this is the page, and okay. So now let's do the thing. You know the thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this, and let's go ahead and first is okay, and then is we're gonna save it. Okay. Oh, okie dokie. Okay, so let's go ahead and since they're all in order, I'm gonna go ahead and well, actually, I won't do it that ways. I'll do it this ways. Let's minimize this. So I can put this up here, and do that. Won't be able to see it. It'll be in an order. Here, we'll do this where I can see it, anyways. And even though I don't have the words up here, we'll just do it like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and trophy. Wait, oh, trophy room. Here we go. Let's hit one for sight. We are going to replace this text here. So I'm going to go ahead and Control X, and in here we're going to select this, Control V, that. Okay. I have to remember that it adds extra space. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and do the next thing. Control X. It's going to be for sound. Control V, like so. Okay, that works. And we're just going to put all these in here. Okay, give me a sec. I'll just be kind of silent right now. Well, I don't have to be too silent, I guess, because maybe you're just listening in audio. Woo, woo. Okay. Number 3. Okay. Where is the deal? Okay. Oh, one person is still the only person in here watching or listening. Thank you to whoever you are. Okay. Wait a second. Why is there only... Wait a second. Oh, no, that's right. This is the 5th one. Okay, what... I was getting confused there for a second because it goes from no number to 4. Essentially like 0. It's like 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for smell, and I gotta check all these to make sure that they are correct. Control E. The smell, right? Okay. So now let's just go ahead and close this. Close without saving. And let's pull this back up. So. And then we'll check each of those real quick. We'll check this one first. Hubert makes his way to the trophy room. Tries the word reveal spell. And so these you can do. So basically, you can do it just based on. That's an interesting deal. Trophy room doesn't have a space in it. I wonder if I don't have a space in it. Oh, I see. Trophy room. I did do it as a single word. I could change all these to underscore. Here, let's do that. Actually, this is a good little test for something here too. So we'll go ahead and put underscore trophy room. We'll even do that for number 5 and save, and then we'll go ahead and save room data. And so now if I go into, let's open this in a tab. If I go into rooms, rooms should now have, the last thing would be trophy room as 2 words. And then if I look at the layout tool data, should be the same way for that too. Okay, good, good, good. All right. Alrighty. Mostly that. Okay. Anywho. Okay. So you know what I didn't do? Let's do this. That'd be 173. And I hate having to do this. Just give me a sec here. Quick. Why did it do that? Okay, that'll work. Let me save that. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. And part one. Okay. We have one viewer on Rumble. What's going on here? Oh, that's what's going on. Okay, so nobody watching me on YouTube. Well, it says one watching right now, and two watching on Rumble. Okay, that's cool. That is cool. Let's see something here. I'm gonna refresh my page here. I'm refreshing the restream page because sometimes it gets out of sync. Okay. So let me check these real quick. So here we have makes way to the trophy room. Okay, word reveal. Sight, sound, touch, taste, and spell. And this one, I guess, I remove that, and I can save the room data there. So sight, sound, touch, taste, and spell. This one's going to be sight. Light disappear, reappear. Lights appear in midair in front of the case and then seem to drift toward the case before hovering around it. He mutters something about the wards not being tripped. Okay, so that's now what was it? It was sight and sound, right? Sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. Sound. Scales on a harp. Touch. And we got taste. He puts on a few hats and casts a word reveal spell. After a minute, he immediately has a sensation he's tasting dill pickles, noticing that something not natural about that. As it gets closer to the case, it starts tasting what seems to be chocolate cake. The taste one is the funniest one to me. The rest of them are just kind of so. I should have found some sort of funny thing to do for each of them. There's a smell, an acrid odor like charred wood or on a smoldering fire. Then it gets closer and more. It starts to smell like the air just after a thunderstorm. And I really should have been thinking about comedy. Although with comedy, you might want to do some bad smells, and I don't really want to do that. No fart smells or anything like that. So, okay. So it looks like that's good. Now, we do have a little issue. Um, Here, let's look at this real quick. Because I had started to add this extra thing down here. Realize he doesn't have the right hat, so with cooks over in the hand, he opens a portal to his hat room, and then, but he can't do that. The portal. So, a rook. Rook is evidently still at work. Okay. So I have to come up with something here. because you're going to be going to the next point, which is coming up to do a doesn't have the right hats. So why don't we just do a thing where it's like one to continue here. So bit one to continue. We'll do it like that. I'll leave that up there. I like that, I guess. Okay, so let's just go ahead and, pardon me, copy that. Let's do that in every one. Control V. Okay, that seems to work, right? Okay, good. I have to do that for everyone now. Okay. Control V. And I have to actually put the linkage to the room. So we'll just do that. Control V. And we got Control V. Okay, let's go ahead and save room data again. And then what we want to do is now we want to add the door. Let's go here first. Let's go to the door specs here. And we are actually just going to trophy room, 5. Okay. So actually, I want to take this, I want to copy it, and then I want to go to each one of these and put that in the door specs. I'm going to have the door creation stuff in my layout tool later. So I don't know. If I start end up booking on the story stuff here, I might get this part done before I actually get into finishing the layout tool to be able to use it even. Although I won't not be able to use it though still because I'll still have to do the narrative version. So I'll have to go back through and edit every room and make it sound like a narrative, which is going to take a while too. But at least if I have the scaffolding here, it's not going to take quite as long. So and this would be 5. Control C. All right. So we're going to do this in every door spec. And it's not going to take too long. Let's see here. Okay. I have to do this, so I realize that this isn't as nearly maybe as fun as the programming would be, but it's necessary, so I can't get around it. I just got to do it. So I guess that's why I might have more viewers later, second half. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to Control S everything, and we're going to save room data. And for some reason, this is 5. This should automatically go there. Why is it not doing it? Why is it not drawing the lines there? Let's see if I can reload save scene, if it'll draw them. What happened? What just happened? Something happened that was wrong. Um, go here. Door. Trophy room. Oh, I know what's wrong here. Dumb of me. It's nothing really wrong. It's just because of what I just did. Okay, so let's go to here. Let's go to door specs. Let's go ahead and these need to be in here. That's why. Okay. What's I don't know what I was doing for a second. Did the same thing that I did. I did that the other day too. Okay, now I have to go into each of these, and I have to do the same thing in them, which is that. I have to do that in every single one of these again. That's another thing that I might should have, but I will only do it if I have stuff left to do, and that is I'll actually have these like patterns that I want to do that I'll be able to paste. I'll be able to, instead of just adding a room, I'll add a pattern. I'll add the 3x3 pattern, or the 5x5, or the the everything pattern, or the straight down the line pattern, or whatever, and it will um, it'll have all the rooms made automatically. That way I won't have to do a lot of this stuff. Okay, and Bob's your uncle. Alrighty. Now let's take all of these and let's scooch them up here. I don't know what, I must have a snapping on or something. Why do I have snapping on? Doesn't really matter that much. Alright. There, I just need that little extra. There we go. Okay. So now we continue to this one. Alright. So I need to go ahead and ask ChatGPT what? Okay. So, new day, Tuesday the 9th. I made up one story beat yesterday, but I sort of forgot the different ways to view what happened in the room before. Can you go back through the conversation and find out what spells I wanted Hubert to use to be able to view what took place in the trophy room? See if it will remember it, or if it'll just do this kind of weirdness that it does sometimes. Okay. Okay, I wasn't talking about the word reveals. We'll see. We'll see if it comes up with them. Now, go back before the word reveal. So it's a two-part here. The first is to see if any of the words have been stripped. That's the five senses thing. But before that, I was trying to figure out, well, how does Hubert find out how the scepter was actually stolen? I came up with several different ideas. Do you remember what they were? And of course, memory is just, do you remember? It's just, it's in the conversation. So before we locked in, or shipwire. Okay. To narrow down, specific ideas that came up for possible reconstruction methods included visual magical residue. Hebert could reveal faint shimmer or after images of where the portal was opened. Auditory echoes. He could replay faint magical sounds or vibrations left behind by the device. Resonance and frequency detection, detecting a natural resonant frequency of the portal device, distinct from normal Quicksilver-based portals. Physical disturbance, dust, ward threads, or a magical flow in the room, showing that the magic had started at a point in front of the case. Magical signature. Each type of leaves a Hebert could recognize this as something foreign or not wizard spellwork. Yet no, down to three he'd eventually use. The plan was that in phase two, the trophy room scene, after confirming the words weren't tripped, Hebert would use the new hats to reconstruct how Max's device is able to snatch the scepter through a tiny portal. Um, yes, you could scan through the conversation previously. I mentioned about playing back a segment of yes, and you could probably find out what I said exactly just by going back through this conversation station. Okay. Spell to replay what happened in the room like a magical surveillance tape, detecting residue. Uh, I don't think I did the familiar spirit thing myself, and I don't really want to get that deep into it. There's some real stuff with like witchcraft and stuff that in this world, in the story, and in fact in anything that I do in general, magic is just a thing like electricity. That only like wizards can tap into. You know, only electricians and electronics experts can tap into the electricity thing. We can use it, but they're the essentially the wizards of electricity, you might say. So that's the way I want to think of magic here. It's just like kind of a matter of fact thing. Okay, let me think for a moment. Uh, Um, Now this go really can only work on what it's trained on. It can There's a thing that where it can go on the web, but it doesn't have active. It doesn't have an active. Should I say it? A way to actively go through like the internet and stuff. And if it does, it probably will zap all my free usage and maybe even hamper the conversation until like tomorrow. So I'm going to um, I'm gonna ask it anyways though. Uh, Based on anything you know from books, comics, movies, uh, etc. Only fictional sources. Um, how does other projects, franchises, etc. handle something like reconstructing franchises, uh, like reconstructing something from the past via magic. Hmm. Right. Classic trope across fantasy fiction. Different creators solve it in fun ways that, depending on tone, lore, and how much handwaving they want. Here are some examples. The Pence, the Pensieve. Wizards literally pull memories out of their heads and pour them into a basin, then view them like a movie. The Dresden Files. Harry uses psychomancy, or psychometry. Touching an object lets him see flashes of its history like a replay stuck in the fibers of reality. Doctor Strange, the time stone lets him rewind and fast forward reality around a single object as if scrubbing back on the timeline. So there's literally, it's literally like having a VCR or something, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if there's anything like before, like uh, any film and stuff, like ancient fiction of how they handle it. Lord of the Rings. The Palantir stones don't replay the past directly, but they show distant events, almost like peering into memory echoes of the world. Wheel of Time. Turing real objects can record fragments of emotion or scenes, leaving ghostly impressions. Critical Role. D&D. Spells like legend, lore, or commune with nature give partial echoes, not exact playbacks. Residual energy. Star Wars. Expanding universe. Jedi use force psychometry, feeling the emotions of those who last held an item, sometimes even seeing visions. Discworld by Terry Pratchett. Magic often clings to places like residue, so wizards might tap into background radiation of events to see what happened. Sandman, Neil Gaiman. Dream can replay echoes of what people dreamed in a place, showing what their subconscious experienced nearby. Ghostly reenactments. The Haunting of Hill House and many ghost stories, dramatic events repeat themselves as echoes like a stuck record that investigators can watch. The Elder Scrolls, Skyrim. The Dragonborn sometimes witnesses spectral reenactments of key events. Clive Barker's Weave World, magic users can coax phantoms of memory out of the environment itself. Um, Puzzle piece reconstruction. Sherlock Holmes, BBC. Though not magical, the mind palace sequences show Sherlock assembling visual fragments into a rewind-like deduction. Oh, he's talking about the. Okay, I see. It's the way, and probably the one with Benedict Cumberbatch. I suppose I haven't actually seen that, but um, that's probably what he's talking about. Full Metal Alchemist. Alchemy sometimes reveals a transmutation's truth, the hidden process behind an event. D&D spells, arcana flavor, things like augury, speak with the dead, and divination provide pieces of a puzzle and never full replay. So depending on tone, Hubert could rewind reality like a VHS tape. Some ghostly echoes of people who act out what happened, Skyrim style. Touch objects for impressions. And I'm gonna be having like 3 different spells that you use. In fact, because of the way Hubert's magic works, um, they're not gonna work entirely properly. In fact, I might should even have like a rule thing where his magic works the same way every time. In other words, if I have it changed the way it works, even though conceptually his halfway magic works like you don't know what half is gonna do what. Um, but in actuality, if I'm doing it in a game, I should probably make it to where it does the same thing every time. So if it's the front half of something, it's going to be the front half of something all the time, right? Or the front half, whatever that particular thing is, so that there's a consistency, even though it's supposed to be kind of unpredictable. So, but okay, um, I'm going to ask Rock the same thing, and maybe even Brave Leo, Brave Search Leo, just to get a more um, just to get more angles, I guess. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's go to Grok. Now, am I still signed in? It looks like I am. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to. Okay. You probably know a little bit about my game from memory, correct? Oh, yep, I got details about you here. Okay. John, Sam, and Charlie. Charlie. I don't remember a Charlie. I don't remember a Sam. Okay, that's all right. Okay. Just um just so I don't have to go over the basics yet again. Um I'm working so there's this part where Hubert uh Hubert halfway the wizard is trying to reconstruct a crime. He's managed to get into Wizard University, and he ends up in the trophy room where there's a glass case that's supposed to house a scepter, one from some inter-realm college games. Um, the scepter is gone, and no idea why and how, etc. He knows something of magic was used here, but he doesn't know exactly what happened. Um, so he tries to check to see if the wards are broken, and they're not, as if someone had, because if someone had cast a spell or even disturbed the case, the wards would be broken, and he might be able to figure out who did it. Okay. So now I'm coming up with a few spells that will reconstruct crime. So based on that, and based on anything you know or any current X posts, discussions, or the internet, um, using only fictional sources, how do other books, comics, movies, games, etc. Um, how did they handle reconstructing a crime via magic? We'll let that work. Particular angle like using Quicksilver as a memory medium. Um, you can, although I've already asked Brock, but I still need to ask Brave Leo. Okay. Reconstruct magical events at a crime scene. Forces a wand to reveal an echo or a shadow of the last spell that helped a forbidden curse like views seen during the investigation, sufficient death, and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Memories can also be distracted, viewed, and defensive. Magical basin and replace past events. Okay, that's right. Um, Rivers of London series. Magical crime reconstruction often involves Stygia, residual magic energy left at scenes, which trained wizards like Peter Grant can sense to trace spells or supernatural entities. Grant also interviews ghosts as indirect witnesses, using spells to communicate with the dead and piece together timelines. Spectral eyewitness to murder. Forensic magic with traditional police work in a modern urban fantasy setting. Okay. Ground Gathered Lord Darcy's stories feature an alternative history where magic is treated as forensic science. Lord Darcy, chief investigator, works with a forensic sorcerer who uses spells like sympathy of association to link evidence, such as tracing a murder weapon's magical residue back to its owner, or divining spells to reconstruct sequence events similar to analyzing fingerprints or ballistics in our world. For instance, too many magicians, magical talismans, and spell traces help recreate a locked room murder. In Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, the wizard Harry Dresden reconstructs crimes using th- th- thaumaturgy. I don't know how you pronounce that. A form of sympathetic magic that links like to like. You might create a miniature model of the scene, like a little Chicago diorama, to simulate and replay events, or use tracking spells on blood or hair samples to follow a perpetrator's path. Soul gazes allow him to peer into someone's essence for clues about their involvement, while potions or spells reveal hidden illusions or supernatural influences at that site. The Discworld novels by Terry Pratchett, particularly those featuring City Watch like Feet of Clay, incorporate golem magic and forensic alchemy. Commander Vimes and his team use magical items or dwarven forensics to reconstruct golem-related crimes, such as analyzing clay residues or animating constructs to replay their actions, highlighting how magic can both commit and solve mysteries in a satirical fantasy world. The role-playing game Dungeons and Dragons various editions, including 5e, magical forensics are common in adventures. Spells like detect magic, identify lingering enchantments, or auras of the scene. Speak of the Dead allows investigators to question corpses directly. The answers are limited and literal. And legend lore reveals historical or magical context about objects or locations. Scrying can remotely view past events if tied to a focus item, while Zone of Truth ensures truthful interrogations. Tools often used in fantasy campaigns to reconstruct thefts, murders, or arcane sabotage. Warren Buick's Zoo City uses a unique Mashavi system where criminals are magically bonded to animal familiars as a mark of guilt, aiding reconstruction by allowing detectives to track symbiotes, bonded animals, or use their abilities like enhanced senses to revisit crime scenes and uncover hidden details in a gritty magical Johannesburg. In the anthology MCSI Magical Crime Scene Investigation. So there's something called MCSI. That's interesting. That sounds kind of interesting. So I'm thinking of CSI, the show CSI, crime scene investigation, and yeah, pretty interesting, I guess. For example, Elemental Forensics by involves mages summoning elemental spirits and analyze traces of fire, water, or earth magic left behind, reconstructing arson or assaults. Arm in Arm with Alchemy by Rosie Weiler Owen uses chemical reactions on evidence to reveal timelines or hidden spells, while Knack Trap by Michelle D. Sonnier, features necromantic summons to replay a victim's final moments through shadowy echoes. These approaches often emphasize countermeasures like anti-scrying words or illusion spells to obscure traces, adding tension as discussed in RPG forums where criminals adapt to magical detection. If you're drawing inspiration for Hubert spells, like something like a Residue Echo Charm could visualize undisturbed magical flows without tripping words, or a memory-probing ritual akin to Pensive for indirect reconstruction. Okay. That's a little bit more verbose than I wanted, but that's alright. Actually, that's a good... keep it pinned to creative stories and not real-world occult tangents. Also, want me to also make you compare contrast grid after you... that's... okay, thanks. I'll be right back. Although it doesn't matter to it whether I'll be back now or back, 10 years from now. Assuming that it was still running and it still had the memory and everything, and things didn't deteriorate, it would still be there. Okay. Alright. Okay, so I'm to ask you a similar question. However, Chat GPT formulated this question before I had a chance to tell you. Well, actually after, but whatever, that doesn't really matter. So assume I hadn't asked you anything. Then answer this question as though I had started a brand new conversation. Please keep answers, explanations more concise than verbose. That's good. But can you do that same thing but use different examples? Also, could you include examples from pre-film, pre-video fiction, i.e. books and such that were written before the advent of the motion picture, i.e. pre 1900. Okay, let's go to Brave search here. Okay, nice. Often use various magical techniques from constructing. Here's some examples: magical echoes, Harry Potter, and that's even a legitimacy, whatever that is, to see a person's memories. However, Discworld characters can use magical echoes, time vision spells. Dragonlance series characters can use a spell called the time vision to see past events. This spell allows them to see the location at a specific point in time, allowing them to relive the past. Memory imprints. Harry Potter objects can hold memory imprints, allowing characters to see what happened to them in the past. Often used to uncover clues or piece together events. And that's what's going to happen. Okay, so the way I'm doing this here, like I said, this is not like a choose your own adventure, and I'm not leading to dead ends and stuff. And sometimes, like now, you're gonna be you'll have three choices, and I'll let you go through all three choices in any order you want, which means like a maximum of 15 pages, like I'd shown above. And half the time it's just going to be like piecing stuff together, right? So maybe in a um, maybe in the actual game, you'll actually have to find the right combination of hats. You'll have to um, you'll have to find the right spells to use together that will piece enough of the information together. And here it's just going to happen automatically. It's going to be like he does the spell, he does this spell, and he does this spell, and then you read them and it says, all told, it means that this happened instead of like it'll in other words, the real game will be a real game. It'll have real things that you have to do or order of stuff or whatever that you have to do in order to get this. It's not just going to tell you, right? Anyways, these will be bases for puzzles, even though they're not puzzles themselves. Memory imprints, chrono empathy. Well, a time series can form a magic called chrono empathy to sense memories of a location. This allows them to see past events, ghostly apparitions. Right, proton packs capture ghostly apparitions. Temporal loops. In the Doctor Who series, Doctor can use a device called a temporal loop to see past events and relive them. That's a thought. Magic scrying. In various fantasy series, characters can use magic scrying to see past events. This often involves gazing into a magical crystal or other forms of divination. A few examples. Could you provide any examples from sources that were pre-1900s fiction so that maybe examples that weren't affected by for modern motion picture or video recording systems. A lot of magical playback is akin to playback on a video device or a computer. So a lot of that is modern and would influence what shows up in these stories. Very nice. Here's some examples of magical playback from pre-1990s fiction, pre-1900s fiction. Memory Stones. In the 18th century novel The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, a character uses a magical stone to see visions of the past. Good. Crystal Gazing. In the 19th century novel The Mysteries of London by G.W.M. Reynolds, a character uses crystal gazing to see visions of the past. So there's been a lot of things where people have wanted to look into the past and are able to just view it. So 17th century play The Tempest, William Shakespeare, a character uses a magic mirror to see visions of the past. Okay, so really they're just looking at it directly. Dreamwalking, the 19th century novel The Turn of the Screw by Harry James, a character uses a dreamwalking to see visions of the past. Seers and Prophets, in ancient Greek and Roman mythology, characters like the Oracle of Delphi and Sibyl were said to have the ability to see visions of the past and future through magical means. Ancient Egyptian magic, characters like the goddess Isis visits paid were said to have the ability to see visions of the past. Alchemical practices, medieval alchemy, practitioners believed that they could see visions of the past and future through the use of magical symbols and rituals. The examples of magical playback are often more subtle and less influenced by modern technology. They may involve use of magical objects, rituals, or practices to access the past rather than relying on a device or machine. Okay, let's go back to Grok now, and let's see here. Let me check something real quick, really quick. Okay, and okay, that's fine. Okay. In fictional settings, characters use magic to reconstruct past events through mystical methods like visions. Here are different examples, including pre-1900 works. Christmas Carol conjures vivid scenes from Scrooge's life, allowing to relive and reconstruct personal history through supernatural apparitions. Oh yeah, that's the okay. So that's one of the things that you can actually attribute to not being related to, like, VCR playback or even playback on sites like YouTube or DVD or whatever. And that is actually going back in time to relive. In fact, what's funny is I could use a spell where you get to replay past time, and the idea is you can affect past time, which is makes it very powerful and dangerous. And so the idea is if you want to see something that happened in the past and didn't want to affect it directly, because maybe you want to see how it plays out, uh, you might would do a thing where you kind of hide in the shadows and watch what goes on, and that could also involve an element of risk. In other words, would he be discovered? And if he's discovered, then it changes the course of the event. You don't really want it to do that. In fact, that you could actually use that as a game device for a particular game where that does happen. But Harold has only part of his magic, and so that wouldn't necessarily completely work all the time. Um, I don't know how I'd handle that. Plus, it's a little serious. But I'm just thinking that would be kind of a cool like twist onto the deal where instead of just reliving them where they can't see you, but actually going in where you can actually affect things, and and it possibly leading to disastrous consequences. Okay, so Fellowship of the Ring, 54. Deal's Mirror, Magical Basin reveals glimpses into past events. Mistborn series, Elementers burn gold to visualize shadows of their own potential past selves, or Millennium to see others' alternate histories, reconstructing what might have been. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, English magicians cast spells to summon fairy visions or scry historical events, reconstructing forgotten magical lore and past occurrences. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV series, slayers like Buffy exhibit retrocognition, psychically perceiving past events at locations or through objects to involve supernatural mysteries. The Witcher series. Sorcerers and witchers use potions, signs, or divination spells to glimpse echoes of past violence or curses at haunted sites. Hunter x Hunter, manga anime. Certain Nen users develop abilities for retrocognition, sensing or viewing hidden past actions during battles or investigations. American Gods. Gods and shadow figures invoke rituals to replay mythological past or personal histories, blending memory imprints with divine magic. These techniques involve risks such as emotional trauma or misleading visions. Okay. All right. Uh, okay. Say, can you pull any examples from any pre 1900s general sources so it's not tainted by modern video technology, VCR, DVD, VCR, disc, computer playback? You're right, most modern reconstructed past magic feels suspiciously like someone slipped a VHS player into their wand. In the pre-1900 sources where writers leaned on imagination, folklore, and strange stage magic trickery rather than modern tech analogies. The magic mirror. Mirrors often reveal truths, show distant or past events, or expose hidden deeds. Example: Snow White. The mirror tells the queen who is the fairest. Sometimes older versions of the mirror folklore let you see what happened before in a place. Function more like a magical replay screen, but rooted in old symbolism of mirrors revealing truth, not recording. The cauldron of inspiration, eclectic myth, maneuver retellings. Cauldrons sometimes let seers glimpse visions, not just prophecy, but past deeds too. In Welsh myth, Ceridwen's cauldron uh, was used to grant knowledge and understanding. It can reveal hidden truths, which can include what really happened. In the second sight, Scottish Highlands folklore of 1600s plus, people with the gift could see echoes of the past or future events overlaid on the present landscape, often described as if the ground or house remembers what happened. A magical investigator like Hebert could borrow this mechanic, walking into a room and overlaying the past scene onto the present. Now it's getting a little too long in the tooth there. Really. um, Borrow this mechanic, walk in the room. Okay. John D. Scryingstone, the real historical magician, claimed to use obsidian mirrors or crystals to consult angels and reveal hidden truths. In fiction, occult adjacent writings of the period, these stones often replay visions of past deeds or secrets. Goethe's Faust. Faust summons visions through magical rituals. Spirits replay moments or conjure entire illusions of the past. In these works, it's never a mechanical playback, but rather a spirit-forced reenactment of events. Arabian Nights, pre-1700 versions circulating in Europe. Sources often use bowls of water, rings, or lamps to conjure images of past deeds, villains, or treachery. For example, the magical basins or lamps sometimes show what happened to missing people. Romantic Gothic novels, late 1700s to 1800s. Authors like Anne Radcliffe and Horace Walpole sometimes gave supernatural visions. Phantoms reenact murders or crimes in castles, showing the protagonist how it happened. Think less like watch a movie, more like ghosts forced to repeat their crime. So before 1900, modern common modes were mirrors, crystals, water surfaces, spirits and ghosts reenacting past deeds, the land or houses of remembering events, Magical ritual summons a vision that once was. Old-fashioned magical style, call up an echo of the thief's actions like second sight, use a stat magic on an object that remembers what happened, or summon a vision from the surface. Mirror. No thanks. I'm still thinking here. It seems like mostly what it amounts to is just replaying events and watching them as they unfold. Even before the advent of motion pictures. Old memories, whether it was a mirror, a pool of water, a ghost trapped in castle, or a series vision. Mechanism shifted depending on the tradition. Looks very much like a root road. How motion replay works, more about what magical metaphor he taps into for the replay. Um, well, I'm thinking of three primary. See, this isn't being so quick either. Although maybe I'll get this done today, so that's still at least one for the day, anyways. Three primary. Let's see, what was I gonna say? Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Okay, so we'll have three different spells that do different things to reconstruct, since Hubert's magic is limited. So I can go the audio, video, feeling way. Let's see. Are based on objects in the room. The only object really being a glass case, but also whatever it was sitting on, like a pedestal. Oh, or um, or cushion or something. Nothing in here. He sees faint shimmering echoes of the portal forming in front of the case, scepter being lifted, the magical portal posing like a mirage. Uh, Here's the sequence hum of portal device, tactile object memory on the feels residual magical vibrations. Just enough to piece together the crime, but none can give the full picture alone. Um, That would be one. Hmm. I'll have to think a little more. That's kind of right though. That's almost what I was thinking of, anyways. A visual and auditory, and then something can feel. Uh, that's. I mean, what is said there is kind of okay. Might be a good way to do it. And I could actually literally do the playback thing on purpose, like a magical playback to be funny, or where he's like maybe he sets. I can only see this visually because it's a lot of text to probably type in or to read with that. But imagine him conjuring up a projector in midair and it's floating in air, and then he starts the movie of playback of what happened, and then he grabs a chair from out of nowhere and he grabs a bag of popcorn and starts eating it while he's watching the playback. That would be kind of funny actually to actually watch in a sense there. Let's see what I actually put in my notes here. Um, Time reconstruction shows what happened in reverse. Audio deverberation spell. Deverberation is not a real word, obviously, but the idea is it'll play back a few months of any sound or speech. And then choice C, I didn't come up with choice C. Huh. The two things I came up with yesterday was a time reconstruction spell which showed things in reverse. Um, and then something I called the a an audio reverberation spell, which I know it's not a word. I just made it up. Where Hubert could hear a few moments of what went on, like footsteps or that hum or whatever. I meant to say yesterday if I didn't say yesterday, but that's all right. Hubert touches the pedestal or the case. Visual impressions of magical or physical interaction are felt through the subtle vibrations. So actually, I do have already have the visual and the auditory. So the last one would be the touching part. Okay, so um, before I do this story beat, this page here, I don't know. I keep on drinking like there's something in there, and there's not. And I only got 20 minutes left in this part to get this done. So if I could step it up a little bit. Okay, so he only sees the time reconstruction spell only starts near the beginning, where he sees I don't know how much he sees. He's gonna see the gone from the case. Hmm. Okay, so let's see. He walks up, he turns on the device, portal opens, he reaches in with his hand, he grabs the thing out, sticks it in, turns it off, and then takes off. Okay, I don't care which way he takes off. He takes off one way. We'll say he goes towards the Hall of Fame or whatever. So we'll say he kind of worked backwards as well, or they came through the front door and then he went back because the hallways and it goes back through the front door. Okay, so he only sees. So he only sees part. Um, he sees a figure holding the device and walking backwards from the point of the mini portal opening and then walks all the way back out towards the hallway, eventually front door. So so he can only see Max, although he can't really identify him. Walk backwards from the point the portal opened. That's visual spell part. Secondly, he is only hearing part. He hears the hum, and I'm not sure how he could hear anything being from Max reaching in and grabbing his scepter. Okay, so we're making that up. 5 people in here. That's pretty nice. Thanks, 5 people. So the visual spouse sounds like you nailed it. Hubert sees a figure, but unidentifiable, walking backwards from the point of the mini portal opened, tracing the path back to the hallway in the front door. This gives him partial reconstruction, just enough to suggest someone went this way, but not full identification. Tricky part is that Max's actual hand movement inside the case might not produce enough sound for Hubert to pick up directly, so there's a few ways to handle it within your established magical rules. The mini portal's operation leaves a residual hum or echo in the room that lingers for a short time. Hubert's audio spell picks up the lingering sound rather than Max's hand itself. It could fluctuate as the portal opens and closes, giving the clue that something unnatural occurred at that exact spot. The scepter itself might emit faint magical vibrations when it's disturbed. Hubert's audio spell could pick up subtle change in pitch or timbre when the scepter is moved or grabbed enough to indicate movement happened here without clearly hearing the hand, indirect sounds, footsteps, clothing rustle, device operation. Even if Max is careful, the device might produce small clicks, whirs, or low buzzing that fades as he retreats. Hubert hears these and correlates them with the visual reconstruction to triangulate the theft. The key is the audio doesn't give full play-by-play, just fragments that support the visual cue, enough to make Hubert suspect a mini portal is used. Play directly into a page. That's okay. Maybe he hears a knocking from maybe he hears knocking from the scepter hitting the inside of the case as Max maneuvers it through the hole, through the portal. I don't know how. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how well that. Word am I looking for? Darn it. Uh, I'm not sure how well. Um, works with is not what I'm looking for. Uh, I'll just say it like this. I'm not sure how well that plays with the word tripping logic, considering the words would be tripped if there was a physical incursion. But might be able to explain it away somehow. Which produces a sound Hebrew can pick up, enough to hint that it is removed unnaturally or without tripping the words. Okay, so I'll go with that for now. And finally, the touch sensation. finally, the third spell, which is based on tactile sensation. So basically, he's going to put his hand on the case so he can feel what happened. And maybe he can feel the scepter bumping against the inside of the case, so that way it might correlate with the sound he just heard. Oh, something seems to have gone wrong. I mean, it still works. I don't know what the something must have gone wrong. I get that several times. Maybe it's too long or whatever. Okay, so from the standpoint of creating it, I know how it fits together. Question is, when someone reads it or plays it, and before a conclusion is drawn, can the player put together what happened based on that? So this is the kind of the question here, right? So if you're playing it or watching it or reading it, and he does this thing where he sees this hooded figure walking towards this point. He was actually walking backwards from the point. He's got this device in his hand. The next thing he does is he does the auditory one, where he hears the hum. Then he hears some knocking around inside the case. Um, right, and then the final thing is he's touching the. Okay, so the one thing he could do is he could put his hand. He could put his hand where the portal's open, so he could. Um, Maybe he could sense it's some sort of dimensional tear. I mean, that would be something that Hubert has to tell the player, though. Has to tell the reader. So I'm not sure how well that flies, but he goes in and then so he hears that, he hears the knocking, and then he feels it, and then he senses the knocking as well, which means something was inside there. So the only clues that you know in is that you know something was inside there, you know the scepter was removed, and you know that he walked up to it with this device. So maybe you could figure that out. Maybe I don't know how hard that would be for someone to figure out though. Um, if I knew anybody that had never, might be a good idea. Maybe I ask my brother. Maybe I ask my dad. I don't know. It requires some thinking, so I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Yes, it can work for the player, but it depends on how you present the clues. Right now, the three spells give partial perspectives of the event, which is good. The player isn't being handed the answer outright. They're getting enough sensory information to make deductions. A few points to keep in mind so the logic clicks for them. And this is the thing. It's going to tell you the conclusion that being the choose your own adventure thing and not being a puzzles or anything in it, it's actually going to tell you the conclusion. But that doesn't mean that later on, when I actually make it a puzzle and I show that you're going to draw that conclusion, or that somebody that doesn't know this story is going to draw that conclusion. Um, Make sure the player can follow the sequence. For example, if the visual shows the figure moving backward, the tactile shows the scepter bumping, uh, and the audio shows the knocking, they should line up in a way that's easy to imagine. Correlation between senses. Even though the clues are separate, they should overlap enough to reinforce each other. E.g., the tactile bumps match the audio knocks, and the origin of the visual movement matches the point where the portal opened. That gives the player an aha moment, limits of perception. It helps to emphasize partiality. Hebert can't identify Max visually or hear the entire sequence, just enough to hint that the international device was used. This prevents the player from seeing it as too obvious. Potential hit. Subtle language can guide deduction. Words like the bumps don't feel like normal movement or the knocking seems disconnected from ordinary footsteps. Signal that magic is involved. If you set it up this way, a careful player should be able to piece together, especially if they've already seen that words weren't tripped. They'll know something unusual happened involving a small portal device and it was done without physically breaking the board. If you want, I can suggest one or two ways to phrase the three spells description so that the clues are subtle enough for the player to work it out. Yes, please. This is kind of what I like about the AI, though, too. The chatbot in particular, is this idea that I can kind of piece things together and kind of help things work. So I'm not using it for all the ideas. I'm just having it give me ideas and then I figure it out. Scene replays in reverse from the point of the portal's opening. The figure appears moving backward from the case toward the hallway. The figure's indistinct details are blurry clues. The motion starts in a single shimmering point in the air in front of the case, hitting at the portal's origin. Yeah, I can actually do that. I can actually have a visual display. In fact, when you're actually seeing an animation, you'll actually see the portal do that. It'll do like a shimmer, but you won't actually see a portal opening. You'll just see something weird happening. In fact, you'll probably see kind of the sequence. Like in other words, like it'll be holding. You'll see the kind of rippling effect, and then he'll turn it off, and then the rippling effect disappears, and then he holds it on, and then he starts walking backwards. But do not dissipate. Flow energy seems to originate from a small point near the case or the figures. It's unclear. The motion seems unnatural. Audio reverberation. Hebert hears isolated sounds of the event. Remember how the hum of the wands is present, of the words is present, being slightly near the case. Intermittent knocking or clinking sounds come from the case, matching the movement of the object. Footsteps are muffled, distant or oddly patterned if someone's walking backwards or moving visually unusually. That's not going to be the case. He's going to move normally. In other words, the other two spells aren't going to be backwards. Just the first spell is going to be backwards. The other two are just, and that might would make it harder for you to to figure it out or whatever. And in honesty, if I do the 3 point where you get to do all of the spells in any event, then the order's not going to really matter that much, anyways. Places his hand in the case, feels the event rituals. He feels a cool rhythmic bumping inside the case, corresponding to the knocking. The words themselves emanate general warmth, showing they're intact. The object seems to move unnaturally, as if guided rather than lifted by hand. No, no, no. The object is going to move naturally, so. Areas limit clicks, avoid naming Max or device directly, let them use it, keep the natural hints inconsistent. No thanks, but the bumping inside the case is literally Max grabbing the scepter and then trying to move it to where it will pass through the portal. So he has to move it sort of horizontally. So it can pass through the portal cleanly. With the auditory. Oh shoot! It's already 1 o'clock. Darn it. Hey Rook, thanks for joining. And it looks like you joined right at the same time, like always. Except for today, I'm going until now, and then I'm gonna break for an hour, and then I'm gonna come back at 2 to work on the layout stuff. So you come just right at the end here of this. But yeah. Anyways, thanks for coming in, and then you can listen in when I come back in an hour. With the auditory, you'll hear the click of the device, the hum, and the hum before hearing any knocking. Now let's go ahead and let's put this in here real quick. Choice C. I don't have a outcome result B, but using I don't call it something dumb like the hand of touching spell. Hand of touching spell. He's able to sense that something was knocking around inside the case, or it was removed. And I'll leave it like that because I still gotta add in the result for choice C, but that'll be fine. And let's close that. The tactile bumping is the scepter moving inside the case as Max maneuvers to line up the mini portal, and the audio sequence goes. First, the click of the device activating, the hum of the portal forming, and finally the knocking as the scepter brushes against the inside of the case. So you could actually reinforce the logic nicely. Click, device activates, hum, knocking object interaction. The scepter is physically be a move, correlates with tactile spells, keeps the each sense-based spell coherent, and lets the player piece together the event. A natural magical device is used to extract the scepter without tripping the wards. If you want, I can help you. No thanks, but my time is up for today, and I'm going to be working on the layout tool later on today. So thanks. Okay. Okay, sounds like a solid plan for today. Good luck with the layout tool later. We can pick up on the story logic whenever you're ready. Okay, good. I'll leave that like that, and I can leave this up. It's fine. Okay, so I want to say, okay, thanks for watching and or listening, and I'll catch you in part 2, which will be about an hour from now. thank you for watching part 1. I will see you in an hour. I'll see you in part 2 or something.